I'm really tired of seeing this fake image of King Tut all over the internet. Around 15 or 20 years ago, I did a lot of posting about this image in my social media accounts. Back then, I had no idea that this fake thing would still be lingering around 20 years later. Over the years, I've procrastinated about talking about this thing again. I've put it off and put it off, and every time I see it in the media, it irritates me. Let me explain why. And in my explanation, understand that I'm going to rely largely on information that I gathered back then. Because the current atmosphere of corruptly promoting this image as being accurate gives me a belief that facts about the creation of this image may have been altered. Creation of this image began back in 2005 when 3 teams of forensic artists and scientists from different countries were called together to perform a reconstruction of King Tut. The teams were given CT scans of the skeleton as well as replicas of the skeletal remains so that they could work out an idea of what this person may have looked like. It's important to point out that the teams had no idea who the skeletal remains belonged to. The teams were not told that this was King Tut. They were not told anything. They were simply given the skeletal data and asked to replicate what this person may have looked like. Though from memory, I thought that the teams were comprised of 4 or 5 different countries, current day acknowledgement is that there were only 3. There was a team from France, a team from the United States, and a team from Egypt. After the teams were given the data, a while later they were asked what their preliminary findings were. In other words, what do they know so far about the individual that they're trying to reconstruct? And by the way, this project took place with National Geographic journalists on hand to document the reconstruction. And so the teams reported their preliminary findings. National Geographic wrote that the teams from the United States and Egypt correctly identified the remains as being of an African male and being somewhere between adolescent and adult. They approximated the age from between 17 to 19 years old. National Geographic also said that France wasn't even in the ballpark estimation. The French team said that the remains had Caucasoid features, in other words, a white person from Europe. So as the project pushed forward, the United States and Egypt stayed right on track, believing that they were reconstructing an African male around 19 years old. But the team from France was way off course, believing that they were reconstructing a European with Caucasoid features. And by the way, I was unable to find any photos of the teams that were involved in the reconstruction in 2005. So let's fast forward to the end of the project, when each team had finally put together their models of the reconstruction. The United States and Egypt had successfully put together an African male between the ages of 17 to 19 years old. And the reason I don't have a picture of those models here is that the images of those models have not been released. France, of course, had produced their model of a European with Caucasoid features. Image of that reconstruction is seen here. It is super important that I point this out, is that the teams from the United States and Egypt, as well as everyone else involved in this reconstruction project, journalists included, laughed at this reconstructed image. They laughed at the French team and this thing. They said that this was garbage, okay? After it was revealed that this entire reconstruction project was for King Tut, this reconstructed image became the joke of the show. And it's here where everything gets really weird. Weird because after this entire project was over, the reconstructed image that was chosen to represent all of their work was this thing. This. Mind you, this is the image that was the laughingstock of the show. It was considered to have absolutely no resemblance to King Tut at all. So as I said, this is where it got really, really weird. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop here because I didn't realize that my video was gonna be so long. Maybe I'm gonna have to do a part 2. So you guys let me know if you're interested in a part 2. Meanwhile, remember that that image is garbage and it doesn't resemble King Tut one single bit.